Hello. What I'm going to do in this video is explain the definition of emergent literacy project that is due toward the end of the semester. We were going to do this in class, and I just want you to have a heads up and to know what the parameters of this assignment are. So on the screen in front of you, you see the Word document that is also available to you on Moodle. It's called Definition of Emergent Literacy, and it's at the top of the Moodle page. Okay, so take a minute, and I'm going to pause while you read the paragraph. So as we go through here, I'm going to try to address things like content as well as the framework or the presentation of this paper. So the beginning of the paper from the very start should be done in paragraph form as if it was written as an essay. So at the beginning you would have a section called definition, and within that section you would have at least a paragraph about each of these three topics, and probably for the second two topics you would have more than a paragraph. So you would talk about what is the age that we've talked about in class and read about. Who are the children we're talking about when we're talking about emergent literacy? And then you're going to talk about your own beliefs. So this section right here, when you talk about your own beliefs or wherever it's labeled personal, you don't have to give any references, but what do you believe? What are your earliest beliefs about reading? And in this section you can talk about what you believe now as a teacher, but you could also talk about your own coming into emergent literacy. So what did that look like for you? Were you an early reader? Were you a reader that learned to read in first grade along kind of a step-by-step process with your teacher? Were you a late reader? Were you someone who struggled with reading and therefore know what some of your students are going through as they struggle with that? And then finally, and even though it says reading here, it probably should say literacy. So what maybe were some of your early thoughts about writing as well? And then your parents' role in fostering early literacy. What did your parents do or not do for you that you think maybe there's some things that they should have done that you think they should have done, or maybe your parents gave you this wonderful, rich early literacy environment. So those are the things that you would talk about there. Moving into the next section, you're going to begin to talk about writing. So here's where we begin to talk about the things that we've been learning in class and the books and the articles that you've been reading. So within this area, again, you're going to do it in paragraph form. You're going to describe the characteristics or the behaviors of a child who is in the emergent literacy stage in terms of writing. So you'll be sure to include concepts about children who begin drawing and telling stories through drawing, mock words, and first uses of writing, and then include some level of stages. So different books that you may be looking at from our class may give slightly different stages, and you can refer to one of those, but be sure that you don't limit it to invented spelling and early spelling stages. Think about writing as a process that begins with pictures. Okay, so this area would be a good area that you might cite things from Words Their Way from the Bear Inverness book, as well as maybe some of the articles that we've had about phonemic awareness. And then you'll move into a section about writing, and again you'll do this part in paragraph form, giving the giving the characteristics of a child who's in the emergent stage in terms of reading. So you may talk about concepts of print, phonemic and phonological awareness, emergent storybook reading and concept of word. So a lot of this information is in the book by Marie Clay, and the assessments that we've been doing would also maybe be useful here. Now in this last section, you may continue to do this in paragraph form, or you may choose to do this in bullet form, where you have a bulleted heading and then information under that about the various categories. So you're going to be looking at both strategies and assessments. To begin with, you'll pick 2 assessments that you would choose to use with an emergent reader and explain why you use them. So these most likely will be assessments that we've done in class. So the directions are not to give an overview of the assessment, since you and I both know what you're talking about here. However, if you choose to do an assessment that is not one we're doing in class, then you would probably have to give me some background on that and some information about it, and maybe even have a separate attachment about that assessment. But the important thing here is for you to identify why you personally would choose to use this assessment. What do you think you could learn about your student from that assessment? Okay, then you're going to pick 2 strategies that can be used in classrooms or at home to foster early writing. And these strategies you may have to give a little bit of an explanation, or you may pick something from Cunningham or from Bear and Bernenzi et al. You could refer to a page number. So I'm going to do what Cunningham recommends on page 8, called blah blah blah, whatever it is that you've chosen there. And then again, what I want is a pretty succinct explanation for why you have chosen those strategies, what you think that is going to do to benefit the child that you're working with. And this could be just a theoretical emergent literacy child. Okay, and then you're going to do the same thing for reading, and then explain why you've chosen those strategies. Okay, briefly I'm going to go through the points. So for your organization, you're going to get 20 points, and what I'll be looking for there is an introduction. So we didn't talk about that here at the beginning, but probably what you want to do in your introduction is just say what you're talking about in this paper. So kind of, sometimes the introduction is best written after you've written the rest of the paper. But you can introduce me to some of your personal beliefs, to a reason why you've chosen some of the things you chose, whatever it is that you think would give me some bearing on what the rest of the paper is written about. So you're going to use correct use of transition and or pertinent headings. Now the headings are going to be really important in this paper because you're going from topic to topic to topic. So when you switch topics, it's very helpful to me as the reader that you've given a heading. Transitions can be as simple as saying, in the next section I'm going to now talk about blank, whatever the next section is, and again that transitions me as the reader from one topic into the next topic, and that's just a sign of good writing. And then finally I'm going to be looking at conventions, so capitalization, usage, so grammar, punctuation, and spelling will all be important, and I want you to make sure that you proofread the paper carefully. Okay, then the content. The main area of points you'll get here is going to be on the content. So I'm going to look for reflection on personal connections to emergent literacy, and again those can come from your own young reading life. Some of you will have experiences remembering younger siblings or even your own children as they learn to read and write. You may make personal connections in that way. You're going to be asked to give characteristics of emergent writing and emergent reading, and I want this to be done not in a bulleted format but in a paragraph format where you bring some material together, some of your own observations of children as well as the material that we've been reading. So you definitely will be giving some citations in those sections. Then you're going to identify the assessments, explain why they would be used, and the strategies would be identified and explained, both for reading and for writing. And those 3 areas could be done in a somewhat of a limited bulleted format. So the first 3 areas, as well as the introduction, I'm going to be looking for some smooth, well-positioned writing that just follows writing conventions. And for the last 3 areas here, I will be looking more for, this is what I would use, this is why I would use it, that kind of thing. And then finally, the information within the paper needs to be backed up by at least 2 resources, but these can and should be the articles and books that we've been using in class. The last 10 points will be on APA citations. So what I've done, what I was going to talk about in class today is some APA kind of help videos that I've made in the past for students that I had before. And you're welcome, you should, if you have any questions about APA, to watch those and make sure that you are using the correct APA. We will probably not spend a lot of class time doing APA, but we will, I will meet with anybody individually, or I will be glad to answer questions about it. So let's kind of go slow with that, but if you feel that you have a need to work more closely with APA, let me know, and I may set up a special time or use the end of class one day where those who feel comfortable with it could leave. But I really want that to come from you. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to put a section on today's class date for questions on this assignment. It will be a forum, and so if you have questions after watching this video, please enter your questions in that forum, and then I can answer it for everybody. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.